Money is not just something people earn. Money is something that often moves toward the person who becomes useful, steady, skilled, and prepared enough to handle opportunity when it appears. And this is where most people misunderstand the game. They spend years asking, how can I get more money? But they rarely ask the question that can actually change their life. How can I become the kind of person money has a reason to move toward? This one shift can change the way you see everything. Because the person who only chases money often becomes anxious, impatient, and easily distracted. They run after quick results. They compare their life with everyone else's life. They feel behind. They feel unlucky. They think the world is closed to them. But the person who understands the deeper law behind money starts moving differently. They stop begging life for more and start building more within themselves. More skill, more patience, more courage, more self-control, more value, more belief, more action. And when those things begin to grow, life often responds in ways that once looked impossible. This does not mean money comes magically. It does not mean you can sit still and think positive thoughts while your problems disappear. That is not how real growth works. The deeper truth is much stronger than that. Money often follows value. Value grows through skill. Skill grows through learning. Learning becomes powerful through discipline. Discipline becomes useful through action. And action becomes sustainable when your mind no longer sees money through fear, panic, and scarcity. Most people are not broke only because they lack money. Many people are stuck because they have been trained to think in a way that keeps them small. They see opportunity and immediately think, that is not for me. They see someone succeed and think they must be lucky. They imagine building something better and think, what if I fail? So before life even has a chance to open a door, their own mind has already closed it. This is why the real money law begins inside, not inside in a soft, empty way, but inside in a practical way. Your thoughts shape your choices. Your choices shape your habits. Your habits shape your value. Your value shapes your opportunities. And your opportunities can shape your financial life. If you understand this, you stop looking at money as a mysterious force that chooses some people and rejects others. You begin to see it as feedback. Money can be feedback for the value you bring, the problems you solve, the trust you build, the consistency you show, the courage you practice, and the discipline you repeat when nobody is watching. Think about the people who seem to create opportunities wherever they go. It is easy to look at them and say, they are lucky. But if you look deeper, many of them have something in common. They have trained themselves to notice problems and turn them into solutions. They have learned how to communicate. They have learned how to stay calm under pressure. They have learned how to keep going when results are not visible yet. They have learned how to become useful before asking to be rewarded. That is the part most people skip. They want the reward before the growth. They want the result before the responsibility. They want the income before the impact. But life often works in the opposite direction. First, you become more valuable. Then people trust you more. Then opportunities begin to open. Then income may increase because there is a stronger reason for it to increase. This is not about pretending everything is easy. Some people start with less support, less guidance, fewer resources, and harder problems. That is real. But even with difficult beginnings, one thing remains powerful: the ability to grow. You may not control every condition around you, but you can still improve what is within you. You can learn. You can practice. You can become more disciplined. You can change your relationship with fear. You can build skills that make you harder to ignore. And that is where your life begins to shift from chasing money to creating value. When you chase money from fear, your energy becomes desperate. You begin looking for the fastest path, not the strongest path. You start copying people without understanding their process. You jump from one idea to another because you want quick relief. And when results do not come fast, you feel defeated. But when you focus on value, your thinking becomes clearer. You begin asking better questions. What problem can I solve? What skill can I improve? What weakness is costing me opportunities? What habit is keeping me at the same level? What can I create, learn, or offer that makes someone's life better? These questions are powerful because they move you out of helplessness. They remind you that your future is not only shaped by what you want, it is shaped by what you build. Money does not care how badly you need it. Need alone does not create trust. Need all. One does not create skill. Need alone does not solve a problem for someone else. The world is not always fair, but it often rewards usefulness. It rewards people who make things easier, faster, clearer, safer, stronger, or more meaningful. It rewards people who reduce pain, save time, create clarity, deliver results, and keep their word. So the question is not only how much do I want, the question is how much value am I becoming able to create? This is where many people feel uncomfortable because value requires growth and growth requires honesty. You have to look at your life without lying to yourself. You have to admit where you are undisciplined. You have to admit where you keep waiting. You have to admit where you talk more than you act. You have to admit where fear has been making your decisions. Not to shame yourself, but to finally become free from the patterns that keep repeating. A person who cannot face the truth about their habits will keep blaming life for results that their habits are helping to create. But the moment you become honest, you regain power. You can say, this is where I am, but this is not where I have to stay. That sentence alone can change a life, because scarcity thinking tells you this is all there is. Growth thinking says this is where I begin. Scarcity says other people already took the opportunity. Growth says I can create my own opening. Scarcity says I cannot afford to learn. Growth says I cannot afford to stay the same. Scarcity says, what if I lose? Growth says, what can I become if I keep improving? Scarcity is not only about the amount of money in your pocket. It is a mental habit. It is a way of seeing the world where everything feels limited, dangerous, and closed. And when your mind lives in scarcity long enough, you stop moving boldly. You stop trying new things. You stop investing in your own growth. You stop speaking up. You stop asking. You stop building. You choose safety so often that your life becomes smaller than your potential. But abundance thinking is not fantasy. It is not pretending you have no problems. It is the belief that more can be created through learning, effort, relationships, creativity, and action. It is the belief that your current level is not your final level. It is the belief that skills can be built, discipline can be trained, and opportunities can be prepared for before they arrive. A person with abundance thinking does not sit around waiting for luck. They prepare. They learn while others complain. They practice while others scroll. They ask better questions while others repeat the same excuses. They use what they have. They start with what is in front of them. They understand that a small beginning is still a beginning. And that is important because many people delay their future by waiting for the perfect starting point. They say, I will start when I have more money. I will learn when I have more time. I will build when I feel more confident. I will try when the risk disappears. But life rarely gives perfect conditions to people who refuse to move. Confidence often comes after movement. Clarity often comes after effort. Courage often grows after the first uncomfortable step. You do not need to see the whole road to begin. You need to become the kind of person who takes the next honest step. This is where discipline becomes more important than motivation. Motivation feels good. It can wake you up. It can give you energy. It can make you believe change is possible. But motivation comes and goes. Some mornings you feel strong. Some days you feel tired. Some weeks you feel uncertain. If your life only moves when your emotions are high, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline is different. Discipline is the quiet decision to continue even when the feeling is not there. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about returning to the path after distraction. It is about keeping promises to yourself until your own mind begins to trust you again. And that trust is powerful. Every time you do what you said you would do, something inside you changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who only dreams. You begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Your identity begins to shift. You are no longer waiting for a better version of yourself to appear. You are building that version through repeated action. This is why small, disciplined choices matter more than people think. Reading a few pages may not change your bank account today. Practicing a skill may not bring money tomorrow. Improving your communication may not create an opportunity this week. But repeated long enough, these small acts begin to compound. They sharpen you. They make you more capable. They make you more reliable. They change how people experience you. They change how you experience yourself. And one day, what looked small becomes the reason something bigger opens. Many people underestimate this because they only respect dramatic change. They want one breakthrough, one chance, one miracle, one big move. But lasting growth is often built quietly. It is built in the decisions that do not get applause. It is built when you choose focus over distraction. It is built when you learn instead of complain. It is built when you improve your attitude before life improves your situation. It is built when you keep going even though nobody is clapping for you yet. That is the part of success people rarely see. They see the result, but they do not see the emotional training behind it. They do not see the nights of doubt. They do not see the discipline that felt boring. They do not see the old habits that had to be broken. They do not see the fear that had to be faced. They do not see the person slowly becoming strong enough to hold a better life. And this is why emotional intelligence matters so much in money. Because money does not only test your math, it tests your emotions. It tests your patience. It tests your fear. It tests your ego. It tests whether you can delay comfort. It tests whether you can make calm decisions when pressure rises. It tests whether you spend to impress people or build to improve your life. It tests whether you can handle rejection without quitting and handle progress without becoming careless. Many people lose opportunities not because they lack intelligence, but because they cannot manage their emotions. Fear makes them avoid action. Pride stops them from learning. Impatience makes them chase shortcuts. Comparison makes them feel behind. Shame makes them hide instead of improve. Anger makes them burn bridges. Doubt makes them shrink when they should be growing. So if you want to change your financial life, you must learn to understand yourself. You must notice what happens inside you when money is mentioned. Do you feel fear? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel unworthy? Do you feel pressure to prove yourself? Do you feel like money is always slipping away? These feelings matter because they influence your behavior. A person who feels unworthy may avoid asking for better opportunities. A person who feels desperate may make rushed decisions. A person who feels ashamed may refuse to learn from mistakes. A person who feels jealous may waste energy watching others instead of building themselves. But a person who becomes aware of these patterns can begin to change them. Awareness gives you space, and in that space you can choose a better response. You can feel fear and still take a wise step. You can feel behind and still build patiently. You can feel uncertain and still learn. You can feel disappointed and still return to discipline. This is not fake positivity. This is maturity. This is how a person becomes steady enough to create stability. Because the truth is, financial stability is not only built by earning more, it is also built by becoming the kind of person who can handle more wisely. More opportunity requires more responsibility. More income requires better decisions. More freedom requires stronger self-control. Without inner growth, outer growth can become overwhelming. That is why the law is not just make more money. The deeper law is become more valuable, more disciplined, more aware, and more consistent, and you increase your ability to create and manage opportunities. This is where skill development becomes one of the most important parts of your future. Your paycheck may change, your job may change, the economy may change, industries may change, but the person who knows how to learn is never completely trapped. Skills travel with you. Communication travels with you. Problem-solving travels with you. Leadership travels with you. Creativity travels with you. Discipline travels with you. Money can be lost, but a valuable person can rebuild because they carry value within themselves. This is why learning is not a side activity. It is part of survival. It is part of growth. It is part of freedom. Every skill you build becomes another door you can open. Every useful ability makes you less dependent on one situation. Every improvement gives you more options, and options are powerful because they reduce fear. When you have no skills, the world feels threatening. When you build skills, the world begins to feel more open. You start to see possibilities. You begin to understand that opportunity is not only something you find, it is something you can prepare yourself to recognize and create, but you must be patient with the process. In the beginning, skill development feels slow. You may feel awkward. You may feel behind. You may compare yourself with people who are already ahead. But every expert was once unskilled. Every confident person once faced uncertainty. Every strong ability was once a weak beginning repeated enough times. Do not disrespect your beginning. Your beginning is where your future learns to stand. The danger is thinking that because you cannot see results right away, nothing is happening. But much of growth is invisible before it becomes visible. Your mindset changes before your life changes. Your habits change before your results change. Your discipline strengthens before people notice. Your value grows quietly before opportunity responds openly. So keep learning, keep practicing, keep improving. Not with panic, but with purpose. The person you become through the process is the real asset. And once you begin to see yourself as an asset, everything changes. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop thinking your only path is to be chosen. you stop shrinking your dreams to fit your current skill level. Instead, you start growing your skill level to meet a larger life. That is how people move from fear to ownership. They stop saying, "Why is nothing happening for me?" and start saying, "What am I building that gives life a reason to respond?" But even value, mindset, discipline, and skill are not enough without action. Action is where everything becomes real. Many people know what they should do. They have ideas. They have plans. They have dreams. They have saved videos, notes, books, and goals. But their life does not change because they never cross the line from thinking into doing. Thinking can comfort you. Planning can make you feel productive. Learning can make you feel prepared. But action is the only thing that gives your ideas a chance to meet reality. You do not build confidence by imagining your future forever. You build confidence by proving to yourself that you can move. You do not become skilled only by consuming information. You become skilled by practicing, failing, adjusting, and practicing again. You do not create opportunity by waiting until you are fearless. You create opportunity by acting with enough courage to learn from what happens next. Action teaches lessons that thought alone cannot teach. Action shows you what works. Action shows you what needs improvement. Action reveals your hidden strengths. Action exposes your weak habits. Action creates feedback. And feedback is how you grow. This is why imperfect action is often more useful than perfect intention. A person who takes small steps consistently will often pass the person who keeps waiting for a perfect plan. Because the person moving is learning from life, while the person waiting is only learning from imagination. Of course, action should be thoughtful. This is not about reckless decisions or chasing every idea. It is about responsible movement. It is about taking the next wise step with what you know now. It is about testing, learning, improving, and continuing. It is about building evidence that change is possible because you are actively participating in your own life. The more you act, the more your identity changes. You stop being someone who hopes. You become someone who builds. You stop being someone who only talks. You become someone who follows through. You stop being someone who fears every mistake. You become someone who learns from mistakes and keeps moving. And this is one of the greatest differences between people who stay stuck and people who grow. Stuck. People often wait for certainty. Growing people create clarity through movement. Stuck people ask, "What if it does not work?" Growing people ask, "What will this teach me?" Stuck people protect their comfort. Growing people protect their future. Your future does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to be honest, willing, and consistent. So when you think about money, do not only think about numbers. Think about the person behind the numbers. Think about your habits. Think about your mindset. Think about your emotional reactions. Think about your skills. Think about the value you bring to others. Think about the discipline you practice when nobody sees you. Think about whether you are building a life or simply reacting to one. Because the person you are becoming is always sending instructions to your future. If you become more fearful, your choices become smaller. If you become more disciplined, your choices become stronger. If you become more skilled, your opportunities become wider. If you become more valuable, your income potential may grow. If you become more emotionally steady, your decisions become wiser. If you become more consistent, your life begins to gain direction. This is the law behind the law. Money may move through jobs, businesses, clients, careers, ideas, and opportunities, but underneath all of that, it often responds to human value. It responds to usefulness. It responds to trust. It responds to problems solved. It responds to action repeated long enough to create proof. And proof matters. You do not need to convince the world with words when your habits are creating evidence. You do not need to beg for confidence when your actions are building it. You do not need to pretend you are valuable when you are actively becoming more valuable every day. This is how lasting change begins. Quietly, internally, repeatedly. Maybe your life does not look the way you want it to look right now. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you have made mistakes with money. Maybe you have wasted time. Maybe you have started and stopped too many times. Maybe you feel like opportunities passed you by. But none of that has to be the final story. A person can begin again with a better mind. A person can rebuild with better habits. A person can grow new skills. A person can learn to make calmer decisions. A person can become more useful, more focused, more disciplined, and more prepared. And when that happens, the future begins to open differently. Do not let your current situation become your identity. Your bank account is not your identity. Your past mistakes are not your identity. Your slow start is not your identity. Your fear is not your identity. Your identity is being shaped by what you choose to repeat from this moment forward. If you repeat excuses, your life will follow excuses. If you repeat discipline, your life will follow discipline. If you repeat learning, your life will follow growth. If you repeat action, your life will follow movement. If you repeat value creation, opportunity has a stronger reason to find you. This is why the person who understands this law does not panic the same way anymore. They may still face problems. They may still have difficult seasons. They may still need patience, but they know what to return to. They return to value. They return to discipline. They return to learning. They return to action. They return to emotional control. They return to the belief that growth is still possible, and that belief is not weak. It is one of the strongest forces a person can carry, because when you believe growth is possible, you behave differently. You do not quit as easily. You do not see every failure as a final sentence. You do not let rejection decide your worth. You do not let fear write your future. You become curious. You become steady. You become willing to improve. And slowly the world begins to experience you differently. People trust you more because you become reliable. People notice you more because you bring solutions. People respect you more because you keep growing. Opportunities become more possible because you are more prepared for them. That is the deeper meaning of never lacking money again. It is not a promise that life will always be easy. It is not a claim that money will appear without effort. It means you no longer feel powerless because you understand the principles that can help you create opportunities again and again. You understand that when something changes outside, you can still grow inside. You understand that your strongest security is not only what you have, but what you are able to build. So stop chasing money like it is running away from you. Start becoming someone who creates reasons for money to move closer. Build skills, solve problems, keep your word, learn from people who are ahead, protect your attention, manage your emotions, take wise action, improve your relationship with fear. Stop waiting to feel ready before you begin. Start becoming ready through the act of beginning. The life you want will not be built by one emotional decision. It will be built by the quiet decisions you repeat after the emotion fades. It will be built by what you do when nobody is watching. It will be built by the small improvements you refuse to abandon. It will be built by the way you think, the way you learn, the way you act, and the way you rise after disappointment. Years from now, you may realize that the biggest financial shift in your life did not start with money. It started with a new question, not about how can I get rich quickly, not why does everyone else have more, not when will life finally change for me, but who must I become to create a better future? That question contains responsibility. It contains hope. It contains power. And if you live with that question long enough, your choices will change, your habits will change, your standards will change, your confidence will change, your opportunities may change, because you will no longer be living as someone waiting for money to save you. You will be living as someone learning how to create value, handle responsibility, and move through life with purpose. Money is not the only measure of success, but it often reveals the quality of our decisions, our discipline, our value, and our ability to serve in useful ways. So respect it, but do not worship it. Learn about it, but do not fear it. Use it as a tool, not as your identity. Let it remind you to grow, not pressure you into panic. You are not here to spend your whole life chasing. You are here to build. You are here to become. You are here to develop the kind of inner strength that does not collapse every time life becomes uncertain. You are here to create value so clearly that opportunity has a place to land. So begin where you are. Learn what you can. Improve what you touch. Solve what you can solve. Build trust with yourself. Make discipline normal. Make growth your standard. Make action your language. And little by little, you may begin to see that money was never only about money. It was about who you were becoming while you were trying to create a better life. And when you understand that, you stop feeling helpless. You stop waiting for luck to choose you. You stop shrinking your future to match your fear. You begin to move with a quiet confidence because you know the law now. Value first, discipline daily, belief strengthened by evidence, skills built through learning, action taken with courage. Opportunities created through growth. That is how a person changes direction. That is how a person builds stability. That is how a person becomes someone life can trust with more. And from that place, money is no longer something you chase in panic. It becomes something that can follow the value you are brave enough to create.